What is the term for the fear of being in open spaces or crowds? Agoraphobia, agoraphobia, acrophobia, arachnophobia. Agoraphobia. Welcome to Daily Fun Fact Labs quiz time. Before we continue, a massive thank you to the channel supporters. If you enjoy this type of content, please do consider subscribing. Let's start. Which psychologist is known for the hierarchy of needs? B.F. Skinner, Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow, Jean Piaget. Abraham Maslow. What is the term for an individual's unique pattern of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors? Trait, phobia, personality, mood. Personality. Who developed the theory of cognitive development in children? Sigmund Freud, Erik Erikson, John Watson, Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget. In psychology, what does the ID represent in Freud's structural model of the mind? Ego, superego, instinctual desires, conscious awareness. Instinctual desires. Which type of psychology focuses on understanding unconscious processes and early childhood experiences? Behaviorism, humanistic, cognitive, psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis. What is the term for the tendency to attribute one's own behavior to external, situational factors while attributing others' behavior to internal, dispositional factors? Fundamental attribution error, confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, self-serving bias. Fundamental attribution error. Who is the founder of behaviorism in psychology? B.F. Skinner, Abraham Maslow, Carl Jung, Ivan Pavlov. B.F. Skinner. What type of psychologist specializes in the assessment and diagnosis of mental disorders? Clinical psychologist, forensic psychologist, cognitive psychologist, developmental psychologist. Clinical psychologist. Who is famous for the Stanford Prison Experiment, which investigated the psychological effects of perceived power and authority? Philip Zimbardo, Stanley Milgram, John Watson, Carl Rogers. Philip Zimbardo. Which neurotransmitter is associated with pleasure and reward in the brain? Serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA. Dopamine. What is the psychological term for the defense mechanism where unwanted thoughts or feelings are pushed out of consciousness? Repression, projection, rationalization, displacement. Repression. Who developed the theory of multiple intelligences, suggesting that intelligence is not a single, fixed trait? Charles Darwin, Howard Gardner, Jean Piaget, Albert Bandura. Howard Gardner. What is the term for the tendency to seek out and interpret information in a way that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs? Confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, confirmation heuristic, anchoring bias. Confirmation bias. Which psychological disorder is characterized by excessive and persistent worry and anxiety about everyday situations? Bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder. Generalized anxiety disorder. What is the term for a sudden, intense, and irrational fear of a specific object or situation? Obsession, compulsion, phobia, paranoia. Phobia. Who developed the theory of classical conditioning, involving the pairing of stimuli to produce a response? John B. Watson, Ivan Pavlov, B.F. Skinner, Carl Rogers. Ivan Pavlov. What is the term for the process by which we select, organize, and interpret sensory information into meaningful experiences, sensation, perception, cognition, reflex? Perception. Which psychologist is known for his research on obedience to authority, leading to the Milgram experiment? Philip Zimbardo, Stanley Milgram, John Watson, Abraham Maslow. Stanley Milgram. In the nature versus nurture debate, what does a nurture refer to? Genetics, inherited traits, environment, biological predisposition. Environment. What is the term for a defense mechanism where individuals redirect their feelings from an undesirable target to a more acceptable one? Repression, displacement, rationalization, regression. Displacement. Who developed the concept of the collective unconscious and archetypes in psychology? Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, Erik Erikson, Jean Piaget. Carl Jung. Which psychological perspective emphasizes the role of unconscious conflicts and childhood experiences in shaping behavior? Behaviorism, humanism, psychoanalysis, cognitive psychology. Psychoanalysis. What is the term for a type of learning in which a behavior is strengthened or weakened by its consequences? Conditioning, reinforcement, punishment, habituation. Reinforcement. Who developed the theory of social learning and the Bobo-Dolly experiments? Albert Bandura, Erik Erikson, B.F. Skinner, Abraham Maslow. Albert Bandura. Halfway through. How many did you get right? Comment your halftime score. In psychology, what is the term for a sudden, temporary decrease in cognitive function often caused by stress or anxiety? Hypnosis, delirium, amnesia, dissociation. Delirium. Which psychologist is known for his hierarchy of cognitive development stages in children? Sigmund Freud, Erik Erikson, Jean Piaget, John Watson. Jean Piaget. What is the term for the psychological phenomenon where individuals tend to remember the most recent information better than earlier information? Primacy effect, recency effect, confirmation bias, serial position effect. Recency effect. Who developed the concept of a self-actualization and the humanistic perspective in psychology? B.F. Skinner, Carl Rogers, Sigmund Freud, Abraham Maslow. Abraham Maslow. What is the term for the defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own undesirable qualities to others? Displacement, rationalization, projection, regression. Projection. Which psychologist is known for his stages of psychosocial development, including the crisis of identity versus role confusion? Jean Piaget, Erik Erikson, Carl Jung, John Watson. Erik Erikson. What is the term for the psychological principle that describes the tendency to perceive a series of similar stimuli as a single, unified whole? Closure, continuity, gestalt, perception bias. Closure. Who is known for the study of classical conditioning in dogs, demonstrating the associative nature of learning? John B. Watson, Ivan Pavlov, B.F. Skinner, Albert Bandura. Ivan Pavlov. What is the term for the cognitive bias where individuals favor information that confirms their existing beliefs or values? Confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, anchoring bias, hindsight bias. Confirmation bias. In psychology, what is the term for a sudden, vivid memory of a past event often associated with strong emotions, flashback, flash memory, flashpoint, flashbulb memory. Flashbulb memory. Who developed the psychosocial stages of development, including trust versus mistrust and industry versus inferiority? Erik Erikson, Sigmund Freud, Carl Rogers, Jean Piaget. Erik Erikson. What is the term for the psychological phenomenon where individuals remember the first items in a list better than the middle or last items? Recency effect, primacy effect, confirmation bias, spacing effect. Primacy effect. Which neurotransmitter is associated with mood regulation and is often targeted in the treatment of depression? Serotonin, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, dopamine. Serotonin. What is the term for the psychological principle that explains our tendency to fill in missing information to perceive complete, meaningful objects? Proximity, closure, continuity, gestalt. Continuity. Who developed the theory of operant conditioning, involving reinforcement and punishment to shape behavior? Sigmund Freud, Erik Erikson, John B. Watson, B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner. What is the term for the psychological defense mechanism where individuals revert to an earlier stage of development during stress or anxiety? Repression, displacement, regression, reaction formation. Regression. Which psychologist is known for the social cognitive theory and the concept of reciprocal determinism? Jean Piaget, Albert Bandura, Carl Rogers, Ivan Pavlov. Albert Bandura. In psychology, what is the term for the tendency to perceive meaningful patterns or connections in random or unrelated information? Apophenia, pareidolia, confirmation bias, hindsight bias. Apophenia. Who developed the theory of attachment in infants and the A Strange Situation experiment? Mary Ainsworth, Erik Erikson, Carl Jung, John Bowlby. Mary Ainsworth. What is the term for the cognitive bias where individuals rely on the first piece of information encountered when making decisions? Confirmation bias, anchoring bias, availability heuristic, hindsight bias. Anchoring bias. Which neurotransmitter plays a role in muscle contraction and is often targeted in treatments for neurodegenerative diseases? Serotonin, acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine. Acetylcholine. What is the term for the psychological phenomenon where individuals overestimate the impact of a decision after knowing the outcome? Confirmation bias, hindsight bias, anchoring bias, availability bias. Hindsight bias. Who developed the concept of classical conditioning through experiments with dogs and the salivary reflex? B.F. Skinner, John B. Watson, Ivan Pavlov, Albert Bandura. Ivan Pavlov. What is the term for the psychological defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own undesirable qualities to others? Displacement, rationalization, projection, regression. Projection. Which psychologist is known for his theory of cognitive development in children, including stages like sensorimotor and concrete operational? Sigmund Freud, Erik Erikson, Jean Piaget, John Watson. Jean Piaget. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching the whole video. Comment your final score. Was it tough? Do you want tougher quiz? Let me know in the comments. Thank you again.